On February 11th, the White House issued an executive order called Implement the President's Department of Government Efficiency Workforce Optimization Initiative, otherwise known as the Plan. This plan dictates to heads of agencies what actions and when they need to be taken to transform the federal workforce. Now, in this episode, we are going to review the key points of the plan. We're going to offer some insights on who may potentially be on the list from OPM as far as a RIF, and we're also going to give you critical action items you should be considering to implement today. Welcome. I'm Ed Smith, President of Valor Wealth Partners, where we're dedicated to educating federal employees on your complex and often underutilized benefits. These last weeks have been pretty tough on you federal employees, and we don't see an end in sight. We know that some of you have already been cut, and we know that a lot more of you are worried about your future. We really feel for you, and we're doing everything that we possibly can to help you. So we're going to be providing a lot of education about what has just gone on over the last couple of weeks, more specifically, the new DOGE plan and what it means for you. When we printed out what is just on the OPM website, not just the other resources, but just the OPM website, there was 30 pages. So it's going to take a lot of information, a lot of time to get these out. We're going to do it in multiple videos, but we're using other resources to share and help guide you in those different ways. I'm also going to be joined by one of our financial planners, Zubin. He's going to be providing some other videos to help augment some of the stuff that I'm providing you too. So you'll see both of us throughout the next week or two and trying to get some more videos. Hopefully we'll be able to get one a day to be able to get out so you can actually see this. Some of the topics we're going to cover is what is in this RIF, severances, and how to calculate that. We actually have a calculator for you to make it a little bit easier. We're also going to be talking about how FEHB might be affected. What about TSP? And then also some action items you can be able to do as far as trying to be able to transform your life on different areas as if you do get RIF. So what programs are available on that? So there's just going to be a lot of information. That's the basic framework now. But as we build out some more of these videos, we might actually have to cut them into different areas. So we don't know exactly how many videos, but we know that's a basic framework of what we're going to have. So please stay tuned. We're going to have a specific channel right just for this, a specific group that you can be able to look at just of all of this information that's right here. So it's right at your fingertips. And again, please share this to your friends because we know that a lot of people are trying to find really good, competent information. So hopefully we're able to help you out on this. Okay. Today, we're really going to be able to try to focus on this plan. And basically that is the executive order that came from the president, and it says right in there it's called the plan. So we're just going to keep calling it that instead of all of the workforce initiative implementation. We're just going to call it the plan. Try to make things a little bit easier. And hopefully it's this. We're going to talk a lot about what's in that, where the who is on what OPM is saying is who is going to be affected. And then what is really most important to me is protecting you and giving you some really key action items of what you should do today if there's any chance you are in jeopardy of getting RIF'd or some other option that you might take as far as leaving the federal service. So we want to make sure that you're doing everything today and not waiting for a video in a couple days or a week away. We want to make sure that we start doing those things today to make sure you're protecting them, because those people that got laid off last week or just recently, they don't have the option of doing some of these types of things. Okay, so let's dig right into the plan, also known as the DOGE Workforce Optimization Initiative. Okay, now Section 3 in this executive order had most of the meat, so we're just going to focus and take some of the information out there. I really don't care of why and how they're doing it or what they're telling you with the definitions. You can read that. Like all of our videos, we have a lot of resources in the notes section, so that executive order is in there. You can go take a look at that, but we're going to focus mostly on the stuff that's in Section 3 of that. All right, so we don't have to do that. The first thing, let's start off with some good news. All right, there's a hiring ratio. And I'm going to read a lot of this stuff because I want to make sure that we get the verbiage exactly right of what they said. All right, each agency hire no more than one employee for every 4 employees that depart. Why is this good? Well, this allows for the agencies to bring back people or hire new people if they've fired or they've gotten rid of too many people. So there is a chance to come back to that agency or come back to a different agency and still come back to federal workforce. That's if you want to. Again, that's a complete choice of you of what you want to be able to do, but it does allow for them to bring back some. Now, again, not the full workforce. It's only a quarter of it, but there is a potential for future hiring in the federal government once the hiring freeze is done in different agencies. Okay. Now, let's get to the bad, which is the reductions in force. Okay. Now, this is the agency heads shall promptly undertake preparations to initiate large-scale reductions in force, RIFs. Okay, large scale. This means they're going to be looking at it. Now, RIFs in general cannot be done across the whole government. They have to be done agency by agency. So this is why they're directing the agencies to do the RIFs and not just saying we are initiating a RIF. So the RIFs are actually done agency by agency, so that's why they're initiating them. But again, that large scale is a pretty daunting type of thing. All right. All offices that perform functions not mandated by statute or other laws shall be prioritized in the RIFs. So basically, what I really wanted to get out of this is that they're really looking at a lot of the laws and the legality of this. So there's going to be legal challenges. There's going to be hope that this happens. I don't think a lot of these legal challenges are going to come to a fruition, or they're going to actually be beneficial. They're going to probably stall. And unfortunately, what possibly just happened with the deferred resignation program, they basically came out with this court case and then almost immediately they cut it off. And that really hurt more people than it helped by delaying. So the court case actually hurt people because they thought they'd have time to reconsider after something went to court, and they didn't, and it just actually hurt people. So one of the things we want to be able to do is if you're going to look at some of these situations, don't plan on the legal challenges that are here. Just follow what's happening, and if something comes in better, then that's okay. Let's look at the timeline. All right, within 30 days of the date of this order. Okay, so this happened on February 11th. February has 28 days. So that means March 13th, which is the day before the continuing resolution ends. This is going to be a mess. All right, so this timeline that this is happening, or that is directed to happen. We know they've already started doing some probationary stuff, but things that are going to be the orders that are here, it's right in the same timeline as that continuing resolution. So this is going to be something that's going to cause even more confusion as this period of time. So just be prepared that there's a lot of uncertainty on this type of scenario. Okay. So let's look at the rulemaking, or the changes to the specific things that are going to happen. All right, and this is also within the 30 days. So the 30 days was on rulemaking, but it was also on developing agency reorganization plans. So the rulemaking, 30 days out, is a director of OPM shall initiate a rulemaking that proposes to revise a whole bunch of letters and numbers, which is basically the criteria for making suitability and fitness determinations, to include additional suitability criteria. Those are in Section 3. If you want to read, I think there's about 4 or 5 of them. Basically, what it's saying is they're strengthening what you have to do to perform your duties. And so they're making it more merit-based, or more regulations to make sure that, hey, if you don't perform this, then something else could possibly happen. So 30 days for them to change some of the rules on the workforce that's going to be happening. The section is developing an agency reorganization plans. And this is where we're going to really have to see some different things that are going to be happening during these RIFs, all right? So in 30 days, a report that identifies any statutes that establish the agency or subcomponents of the agency as statutory required entities. So again, going back to making sure they're not going to trip over any laws or fire somebody or RIF somebody that can't be RIFed. All right, and then the report shall discuss whether the agency or any of its subcomponents should be eliminated or consolidated. That is huge, eliminated or consolidated. So again, going back to that large scale RIFs, that's pretty broad of what's going to happen, but they're looking at making some bigger changes, bigger than just what just happened with a lot of the probationary people and quite a few agencies in the federal government. Okay, now there's also something that was put in there about a review timeline. Okay, so the first was the initiation timeline, and then there was a review timeline. Okay, so within 240 days or 8 months, which is basically the middle of October, within 240 days of the date of this order, the USDS Administrator, or the U.S. Digital Services Administrator, shall submit a report to the President regarding implementation of this order, including a recommendation as to whether any of its provisions should be extended, modified, or terminated. So what this means to me is that they're going to try to be doing most of this RIF within this 8-month period of time. And then after that, they may come back and do something else. But I think that they're really trying to get this done in a very short period of time. To me, a lot of why that is there is because midterm elections are coming up relatively soon. I know they're a year and a half away, but that doesn't mean they start a year and a half away. They're going to start, if they haven't already started, with getting ready for primaries and different types of stuff. So one of the things that they want to be able to do is they're seeing a timeline of really pushing this stuff through in 8 months to see if they've gotten most of what they've gotten, or have they achieved the goals that they're trying to be able to do? So that's, to me, is a timeline. 30 days to have stuff really in the rulemaking and also in the reorganization structure, the plan that's being put in place, and then 8 months to be done. That's how I'm reading this executive order to be done on this. So that's the meat of this executive order. You can definitely go back and read it. It's not that long, but there's a lot of verbiage in there that is confusing and just stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be talked about in this video. But I really wanted to get through on some of the timeline and what and how on that is there. The next thing I really want to talk about is looking at OPM has another website that's out there, another page on a website that's out there. That link is here. It's the OPM RIF Guidance. All right. And so what we want to be looking at here, and just in this video, we're going to tackle a lot more in these other couple of videos that are going to come out, is who is most likely affected by a RIF. That is, to me, is the biggest question for most of you. So you can say, should I be concerned or should I not be concerned? Again, I think everybody should be if you're in the federal government, but it's at what degree and at what level. So let's look at the criteria as a RIF of what it legally says, okay? All right, so the law provides that OPM's RIF regulations must give effect to 4 factors in releasing employees. All right, and these 4 factors are tenure of employment, or example, a type of appointment, a veteran's preference, length of service, and performance ratings. So those 4 are the legal requirements of what's there. But I think there's one more. And the reason why I say this is on the OPM's website on the reduction in force, they mentioned they have 4 main topics. And those 4 main topics are overview, summary, benefits, and then transfer of function. They specifically singled out transfer of function to be its own headline with all of those basic broad topics. So what that means is beyond just the tenure of employment, the veterans, length of service, and the performance ratings, they're looking at your job and if it's transferred to a different place. So what is a transfer of function? Okay, a transfer of function takes place when a function ceases in one competitive area and moves to one or more other competitive areas that do not perform the function at the time of the transfer. When they're talking about a competitive area, they're generally talking about a commuting area. There's no specific mileage of what that distance is, but it's just looking at, one place to another place. So I think that what we might see is some moving around of people and jobs and where that is. And this is going to be another area that they're going to be able to use that RIF. Instead of just using those 4 criteria, they're going to say, well, this position is no longer available here. It's going to be available over here. Can you do it or can you not? We're actually going to get to that a little bit more specifically so you can understand that more. But I think that we really have to address this, and you have to be concerned that they might just simply get rid of a position some way or another. Another thing to be able to look at this, there was a really good article from Government Executive, an article on February 10th, the day before the executive order came out. And it says, making sense of the chaotic state of the civil service. Now, they had 8 questions on there. The final questions, number 8, was all about RIFs and talking about this. And they talked about the geographic issue of this. And I think that this is exactly what they were talking about the day before the executive order came out and OPM tried to get a clarification. They were saying, this transfer of function can be used in multiple ways to get around those 4 original ways. So I think that there is a little bit of concern here. I just want you to be saying, well, hey, if I don't fall into these 4 categories, I'm all set. No, I think you have to be concerned about what's happening and if they're going to be moving around different areas, your job into different areas, or they can be performed. All right, so that's the basics of what's going on from both the executive order and from OPM. There's a lot that we're going to have to dig into OPM as far as criteria and all those different types of things. We are going to get into this, but I said it is very difficult. What's most important for today is what you need to do to protect you and your family just in case something happens. All right, and there's 3 things that are extremely important, in my opinion, to be able to do. Everything else is stuff that you can do at some other point. But right now, the first thing I want you to do is get a copy of your entire electronic official personnel folder, or EOPF. All right, this is very important. There's a lot of important documents. What we have heard is the people that have been fired on the probationary, it was almost an instantaneous that their systems got shut down, and the only way to access your EOPF is on a basically on the federal computer or one of the VPNs to be able to get into that. So if you don't have access, you will not be able to get your EOPF. You can get a copy later on, but it is a strenuous process. Get this now, download this now. If this is the only thing that you do, get this. This is something that's going to help you out. It's going to have your SF50s in it. It's going to have all your other documentations. Anything else that you're going to be able to need if you have to prove to OPM that you've done something. All right. Now, how do you do this? There's actually a link. We actually found a Department of Commerce how-to guide. It was very thorough. Probably there's a lot of them that are out there on the website, but I really love Department of Commerce. It was a really good step-by-step process. I would download the entire personnel file in one thing. You have it. You can do it in pieces. Just get the whole thing. That's the primary thing you want to be able to do, is get a copy of this for you. So the link below, it'll go right to that website and it'll show you where it is. If you have something specific on your agency, you can do a search online and you can try to find if there's something specific, but that's a really good how-to guideline that's on there. Another thing when you're looking at your personnel file is we've heard that sometimes when you buy back your time, sometimes the paid in full documents are not included in your EOPF. And so one of the things we want you to be able to do is get specifically a copy of that, the paid in full stamp on the documents that said that you bought back all your time. Now, frequently we see this for like military time, but it could be any period of time that you did. You want to be able to make sure that you have proof that you paid back all of your time. All right, just make things simple for you if you have to go and apply for retirement benefits. All right, any of this stuff is really important. So that's number 2, is really get a copy of the paid in full stamped documents if you bought back any time. Very important, because we've heard that it's not on those EOPFs. And if you think it is, I mean, this could be a lot of documents that you're downloading. You definitely want to check this out. If you don't see anything else in your EOPF, obviously you want to bring it up to HR immediately so you can try to get that stuff done. The third thing, and this is more of a personal thing for you, I don't know where your financial standing is, but one of the things that we want you to do is build reserves as fast as you can. Things are moving fast here, so you need to be even faster to get as much reserves as you possibly can. And there's 2 ways to be able to do it. Stop spending, okay, or stop spending on discretionary spending. All right, this means try to cut back on some of the things that you love doing or that's fun to do. Right now, you need to be a little bit more protective to make sure you can pay the bills and look at those different types of things. So if you can come back on some of the discretionary spending, I highly recommend that, just so you can get through this period of time. If nothing happens to you, you can still use that money to go off on a trip or do something else you want to be able to do. But at this point, let's try to be a little bit more cautious than fun. I know it's not nice. You're already stressed out. You want to have some outlets to enjoy life. But right now we want to make sure we get you through the next couple of months. The other thing that I really want you to think about is cut back on your retirement savings. And this isn't just you. This could be your spouse, or it could be other family members or whoever. But one of the things that I would recommend, again, not knowing your personal situation, so again, look at where you are, is bring your TSP contributions down to the 5% match. If you're doing more than the 5% match, hold off on that, okay? That money that is going towards the TSP and is not being matched could be used to help build your reserves, all right? Now, I know there could be a potential higher taxable liability that's there. You have to look at your own personal situation. But what's more important, retirement in the future or paying your bills today? All right. And so this is one of the things that we see, that a lot of people don't have the reserves. If you've got plenty of reserves, that's great. You don't need to do some of these things. But if you don't have very strong reserves, and I'm talking about 6 to 8 months of reserves, I'm not just talking about getting through the next couple months. I'm talking about 6 to 8 months. There could be a lot of people fighting for similar jobs, and you could be unemployed for a little while if something like this happens. So try to build those reserves as fast. I know you don't have a lot of time. We actually created a video on preparing and surviving a government shutdown. It's not obviously the exact same thing as a RIF, but it's very close. We talk about a lot of these things. There's some really good bits of information about how to save and how to look at these different types of things, what things you should be doing, how you should be doing them. So it was almost a year and a half ago. It was October 2023 when we're looking at some shutdowns at that period of time. So I do recommend watching that video to get some other tidbits of how you can possibly help. Now, one of the other things that we have to look at, and we talked about a little bit earlier, is what happens if the government does shut down in a month. This will definitely affect you. So either way, you should be watching that video and preparing yourself. And this isn't just when situations like this happen. This should be building those reserves for a longer period of time. and somebody might be able to help you and guide you as far as what those metrics should be and how to be able to do them. We do talk a little bit more about what we consider reserves and how you build those reserves in that video. So hopefully that can be very valuable for you. That's one of those videos that isn't time sensitive like this one is, but hopefully that helps you out. Okay, there's a lot of resources in the notes section. Please take advantage of them. Watch these, look at those different types of things, the articles, videos, government uploads of what they've had. And we're going to try to get videos out to you almost on a daily basis for the next week or so. Hopefully we'll be able to get them out, but we are very busy on our side working with people and looking at their personal situation of how this is affecting them. Should they do this? Should they do that? How they should be able to do those things. So we're going to do our best to help you out. If you do have any questions or comments, please try to help each other on those. Again, we cannot answer specific questions on comments or on any of our social media. It's just regulations we can't do. I apologize. I know people are hurting and they want those answers. We just don't know enough about you to be able to answer somebody in a public forum like that. So please try to help each other. If there is something very broad, we'll try to be able to do it, or we'll try to answer it in one of our videos as we keep coming up with this. So hopefully this has been valuable for you today, and we look forward to helping you in the next video. Thank you very much.